Good morning. I'm Jan Magray. It's wonderful to be here. I couldn't have asked for a better person to introduce us than the last speaker. I hope she's still here. I intend to go see her. She warmed you all up for what we're going to talk about. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the game changers. We are the innovators. We are also the outsiders. We are here to share our stories, our inventions, our discoveries, and most of all, our passion. I'm pleased to introduce you to this extraordinary group of women who, but for this conference, may have never met. But as if listening to the struggle in educational programs nationwide, we have all one thing in common. We took the other road, the one less traveled. Based on our intuition, our faith, and our love for the children. We are here to share our discoveries. It will be your decision how to assimilate and utilize these knowings for the world. We are the game changers, and Miss Janis will lead us in a breath-changing expression to get us warmed up.
Thank you so much. My name is Janis McDavid, and I am a teacher. I teach at a private school in Juno Beach, Florida. I teach the preschoolers, and I'm also a singer-songwriter and an entrepreneur. I created Miss Janis Music 20 years ago. And the music I create for children, it has a wellness focus. So the song that I'm being asked to sing today is a wellness song. So if you would oblige, it is a song that says, arms up. So when I say that, if you would oblige, let's move our bodies. We have been sitting a while. Our last, speaker did tell us so. Oh, I can stand here. I'll do that. Okay. All right. So for this song, we're going to put you can do it sitting or standing, okay? It's all up to you. But if you want to move that body, let's go. And I'll sing it for you, okay? Thank you so much, okay? Arms up, hands down. We breathe in. We breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. What a wonderful job. And it goes on and on and on, but we're going to talk today and shake it on out because this is about physical activity. And we'll sit down and we'll introduce the rest of our panels. Thank you so much for allowing me.
So, incorporating physical active learning in your school curriculum. How do we do that? We're going to go around and we're going to ask everyone to respond first to why. But what is physical active learning in a school curriculum? Multisensory input is identified as recognition for how the human brain coordinates the unique sensory impression provided by the different sensory streams and can speed responsiveness for optimal learning. So we're going to talk about multisensory input. Music supports this kind of learning just by singing, patting, clapping, or walking to the beat. Breathing to express sound, moving the body, and listening can provide opportunity for the senses to receive stimulation. In multisensory instruction, all pathways to the brain are used in an integrated manner in order to enhance memory, comprehension, and learning of specifics. So each of these panelists has a goal to provide healthy whole child active learning in order to ensure that students develop a strong personal emotional image to enable them to confront the numerous challenges of unhealthy options and dangers, such as resorting to drugs, acting out in class, feeling disillusioned, failing in personal relationships, and struggling to learn basic skills. The first question is going to be, why? For each one of you, I would like you to share why you think this is so important, to include physical activity. And we'll start with April.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is April Rovero, and I am the founder and the executive director of the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse. I come to this work from a very personal reason, and that was back in 2009, just a day before my son should have come home for winter break from Arizona State University, where he was a senior just about ready to graduate from college. We learned that he had passed away in his dorm. Downstream, it took us about 4.5 months for us to get the toxicology report, the coroner's report, and all that to determine exactly what the cause of his death was. We learned it was from prescription drugs that are so commonly prescribed, but we as a family had never really used. We had no awareness of them. And in talking to family, friends, all the people that we were openly sharing what had happened to him with, nobody knew any more than we knew about this. So the bottom line is, I am passionate, that word passion is absolutely part of my story, about rescuing other kids, making sure that other families don't have to go through what my family's had to go through. It's been almost 14 years, but I can go back in a heartbeat to that day that we learned about this. I have found, and I'm the one that does a lot of this work. I go into high schools all the time. I'm out there with college students also, talking to parents. I would say that there isn't much more awareness now about these medications than there was when this happened to our family. And it's really it's just so disappointing. I also find that the educators need to be educated. What is happening on the ground level? What are our kids experiencing? Where are they getting these prescription drugs they think are the real thing, like Xanax in particular, like Adderall, like any of the opioids that are out there? Those are the ones that are most commonly abused. But if they go online, they're getting potentially a fentanyl-laced pill. One pill can kill them if there's at least 2 milligrams of that medication or that drug, I should say, in that medication. And what I've learned over time is that the actual, engaging them physically in the educational process is really important. So some of the things we do are, here's a Narcan kit, and I'll show you that in a second. Here's what this Narcan looks like, which is an overdose rescue medication that we educate about. What does it look like? How do you use it? I literally bring a mannequin in and let them, try it. Try putting that Narcan up the nose. What about fentanyl test strips? How do you use them? I show them. I let them practice with them. And so it's really that interaction and engaging them. And I only have usually 50 minutes, 55 minutes or so in each of these high school classrooms or middle school classrooms. And so that's not a lot of time. But doing everything you can to engage them physically, the short videos showing, the reality of what this stuff is about. And then, of course, there's the parents and educating the teachers and on and on. So physical engagement is extremely important, otherwise you can lose them. Also, I can say I share my personal story with every kid, every person I speak with, and that makes a big difference too. I don't think I look like the kind of person who would have, an overdose situation necessarily, not that there's that, but there is that stereotype, there's that stigma and all that. So bottom line is I share openly, and that opens up the conversation too, and we get a lot of dialogue going. So thank you.
Great. Maya?
Hello, my name is Maira Abasto. I'm from Bolivia. I am executive director from Isabella and Ferdinand, and I teach Spanish for Washington, D.C. and all the states that we have nearby, Virginia and Maryland. And the why is really important for me. I started in a French school. I've been raised with a strict education, seated. I speak 4 languages. And when I started Isabella and Ferdinand, I knew that was my program. I started doing a lot of activities, doing a lot of collaboration with soccer, with gymnastics, with singers, with many persons can help with the language. For me, the link that it has to have the language and the activity is so important because we can learn more and we can just have fun at the same time. Thank you.
I use physical activity with my lessons. I have been for years, and I find that in the use of them, it helps me mostly with behaviors. So in the way that discipline happens in schools, often you see it show up as being sent to a principal's office or sitting out or not being able to participate. I find through my work through the years that physical activity, when you use it and use it for engagement, you eliminate those behaviors that disrupts from learning. So this is how I have found that physical activity and the use of it, when you incorporate it in curriculum, you find that you don't see those behaviors that often halt education from happening.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Colleen Paul-Hus, mother to 4 children, ages 10 to 14 years old. And my education journey started about 12 years ago when I enrolled my children into a Waldorf school. I became co-chairman of the board and taught practical arts and gardening for about 6 years. Since then, we have opened up a private school on 40 acres in the middle of nowhere, creating a new model in education. It's quite unique. A typical day would look like children arriving, doing farm chores, working with the goats, the chickens, the rabbits, and then they go to their classrooms for a few hours of academics. And what's unique about their classrooms is that they helped build their classrooms. We had an Adobe builder come from California and worked with the children to build their classrooms made out of all earthen materials, clay, straw, and sand. And then after a few hours of academics, they take a break for recess and lunch, and then they learn through the practical arts, blacksmithing, woodworking, how to grow their food, how to preserve your food. So that is the actual application of what they learned in the morning. So with blacksmithing, we correlate chemistry, what happens to the metals as you heat them up at different degrees. Physics with archery, fractions with cooking. So it's the actual application, and working with your hands is extremely important because there's more nerve endings in your fingertips than anywhere in your body. And so when you work with your hands in 3D, not just 2D, writing down word problems, you're creating those neural pathways and strengthening your corpus callosum, which is the highway between your left and your right hemisphere. So you're prepping your brain for higher academics. Not only do you leave with a beautiful piece of work, whether that a blacksmithing hook or a spoon made out of wood, you're strengthening your brain so that you can be a critical thinker and look at life from different perspectives.
Thank you. For me, it goes back about 15 years when, as a retired hospital chaplain, after having taught many years, many different levels, everything from kindergarten to college, high school band, I was a music specialist. For me, it came at an unusual time in my life. I got a call. Can you come down to the club? I didn't know where the club was. Most people like me who live in St. Petersburg, Florida, don't know where Midtown is. That seems silly, doesn't it? But I thought about it for 2 weeks, and then I said, I'm really quite bored. I'm really too young not to be doing anything, so I went down. I became the only white face for 3 years in an all African-American after-school program and summer school. And why did I find that I had to find a way to bring physical activity and a means to engage these children is because there was no way to get them to pay attention to anything. It was like herding cats. I mean, I thought, well, I taught for years, you know. Well, if they were here, I'd take 2 and put them down, and by the time I'd find 2 more. So I had to find a way. And I had the time to be able to do it. And the passion filled me. And I fell in love with this community who treated me likewise in a wonderful manner. And I had 3 of the best years of my life. While I did so, I created something. I created music tracks, which deliberately included evocative sound so that they would want to move in a certain way without getting, crazy. And I would then get them to help me paint pictures or have a word or a line to say at a certain time. They had to listen for it to go boom, chicka boom, and that was their turn. They got to stand up. So I incorporated all of this on top of music tracks, which, by the way, I had to go to sound engineer and learn how to do the recording and the mixing, which I fell in love with as well. And so I created these tracks, and it worked really well. And we had a chorus with drums and me on piano, and I mean, we became, as I tell about it in my book, Adventures in Integrative Education, we became a musical expression, and it was exciting. And then at the end of 3 years, it was after the last recession, it was like 2011, all the money went, and so did the program. So much for that. But I realized the grandmothers, the teenagers who would come in to help with these kids, they couldn't do it with the tracks because they didn't have enough knowledge about the music. But if I incorporated the music into a video with real children acting out the story, knowing when to meow like a cat or to like a gorilla, that then anybody could play that 4-minute video and do it over and over and add on all kinds of activities, and the children could take turns and they could write their scripts. And so that's why I did it, and that's why I became so aware, because these children became readily expressive, responsible, and they learned. And I know firsthand that this was the important thing on which I based this whole development. Now, knocking on doors and getting people to hear about it, thank you very much for listening. So we'll go on. The next question is what? I think we've kind of covered that. Does anybody have anything more to say about their what? Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I was just sitting here thinking about the youth you were working with, of course, and youth engagement is a big part of our program, too. So even apart from being in a classroom and engaging kids in that way, we do a lot of tabling at events, community events. We sometimes host events, or sometimes we just show up at other people's events and hang out. And we're doing overdose rescue training. We're handing out information about drug safety, primarily prescription drug and now fentanyl safety information. Well, we bring our kids to those events. So we have at least 35 with some others in the wings we're working to bring on board. Youth, these are high school students. Over the summer, we also have UC Berkeley. I live in the Bay Area, San Francisco. We have UC Berkeley students doing your internships with us. Their voices are so powerful, and by working with us, they're learning this information, and they want to come on board and help us because they know they're losing their friends. They're seeing things happen around them that are just horrifying, and they want to be a part of the solution, so they learn from us, and they're able to be really those missionaries out there trying to spread the word also. So that's a big part of our program as well. They build our Narcan kits. And again, I indicated I would show you one of those, and that's this. Just very simple, 2 doses of Narcan cartridges. We have breathing masks, and we have gloves in here, and some information on how to use the kits. Our kids are building those kits, so they see every time they build one, that's saving a potential life, right, as they get distributed at these events and things that we do. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, so Isabella and Ferdinand is an NGO. Alex and Pilar O'Leary are the CEOs for this academy, which was a great idea. We want to help the community, and we want to help not only the non-native speakers, but also the native speakers that we have here in the US. How? Teaching them how to write and how to speak, but a good Spanish. So we are in many schools in DCPS, and we're doing a lot of collaboration with many fields, gymnastics, soccer, painting, a lot of things that can help the language for those kids. So it's really important for us not only to have fun, but to help our community, which is increasing little by little without any sources of education or good education. So we are trying to do our best being in all the schools for all the kids.
What we're doing with Miss Janis Music is providing for families, schools, music that is geared toward physical activity and wellness. And these songs that incorporate physical activity and wellness are teaching what is already in their curriculum. For example, the life cycle of a caterpillar. One of my songs says, first you start as a caterpillar, you eat and eat away. Then you form a chrysalis and sleep away. As time goes by, you become a butterfly. This is for children, right? So I'm starting with children, teaching them the butterfly pose. That's yoga, that's wellness. They're learning through listening through music. That's using a different part of their brain. So what we're doing is continuing to teach children through music and wellness.
That's beautiful, Janis. What I hear you say is that it's really important to work with not only the intellectual intelligence, but the emotional intelligence, because that's really what creates memory, is when you bring in emotions. And I think I really found it interesting what Pamela first said, that AI is not to be feared. And I think she's absolutely right. AI should be doing the computing, and we should know and learn how to be more human. What makes us human? What differentiates us from a computer to being a human? It's our heart-brain connection. It's working with our hands. And that's exactly what you do with the music, is teach skills to be more human. And I'm really passionate about that, too.
Thank you. So we're going to kind of jump by the when and where, because I think we're all believers that you can do it whenever and wherever, and we've included it and built it into our programs. But my specialty is how. You take your classroom teacher is trained to teach at a certain level, multiple subjects. Very often, they're not comfortable teaching music. And how do they then manage to incorporate this kind of physical and musical activity with competence? And it's very difficult, and that's why I created the videos, because they give the teacher, the parent, the after-school person, the club, whatever, whoever uses it, the music is there. Real children act it out. There are explicit instructions as to what you do. First, they listen to what the boy in the red shirt is saying. So you're developing listening skills. You're developing how to stay in their own space, which is very important. These children today, they don't seem to have had the experience that our children in the past have had about their own space. I mean, I had one girl that came in and she threw herself at me. I mean, literally, she didn't mean to harm me, but she came in, into the room. She knew she wanted to be there. She just didn't know how to enter into that relationship with this person. And so, to see her totally unaware of her space, who she was, to a year later actually being able to sit at a piano and accompany herself singing a song was pretty incredible. And I had the opportunity to do this because this was an after-school program. There were no rules. I could do whatever I wanted. And so how is that I think that we need to give to our educators these audiovisual platforms. Both Janis and I are creating, I know she has a YouTube.
Yes. And I just wanted to say that also you're just talking about, these social skills that children are learning, And I have the YouTube channel. You can, hey, Alexa, play, right? Or make it very accessible. Right. But I just wanted to bring up a point as well that this accessibility and singing and all that, you don't even have to have a beautiful voice. So, and also in regards to teaching social skills,
Well, and so much is embedded in my stories. It's like, when I start working with kids about singing, I don't say, well, boys and girls, today we're going to learn to sing. No, they wouldn't do that anyway. We talk about the wind. And what does the wind sound like? And then we take a big breath of, oh, and I use a microphone. This microphone's too good. It doesn't pick up the way I do. Yeah, but, and they have to learn, they practice and take a big breath. Ooh, and they have to understand how their breathing supports that sound. And then they become familiar with the sound. I had one child say to me, I heard it. I said, what'd you hear? I heard it. She was talking about hearing it in her head. She was having inner hearing. She heard herself make the sound. She heard her sound. That's very important. And so this kind of expression, this kind of immersion, and in addition, when all my videos are game-based or song-based or active-based. So if they're playing a game and they're taking turns, that's built into the whole system. How you follow, how you listen, how you watch, how you take your turn. And for children who are in the autism spectrum, it's also very valuable because you have the continuity. These children don't like it when things are different each time. They get very upset. Oh no, that wasn't a cat last time. You can't switch on them. When you play a 4-minute video, the one thing about it is constancy. And the teacher can play with anything they want to build on this. They can decide, oh, we're all going to write stories. We're going to write stories about cats and dogs and things, or we're going to write stories about the blue alligator. And so it's a jumping off point, it's a framework, and that's how we can incorporate this in our regular classrooms, support those teachers who, for the most part, are pretty overworked. And I think that it's a really important thing for us to realize that the AI is offering us a way to do this. The question is how. We have to have people who know how to create the content and put it in. It can't just be written and something that somebody punches and reads and follows the script. It has to allow for creativity. It has to have built-in content that supports the movement, the sound, the healing. I have no idea where we are in our time. Do we have that time left? Okay. Janis, you have more to say.
Of course. I think we need to stand up and maybe give an example of, it's time probably to wiggle our bodies around. Just going off of what you said, I would love if we could stand up and maybe do a song that does teach social skills. I mean, since it is a physical activity song. So this one, it does require, if you do sit down, it's fine. But if you turn to the person next to you, you look in their eyes, and children don't know how to shake a hand anymore. And I teach them how to shake a hand. So shake a hand. Shake a hand, shake a hand, shake a hand, shake a hand. And then for those that feel comfortable, I tell them, give a hug, give a hug, give a hug, and then say hello while you're looking in their eyes. How are you? And then, how are you? I am fine. I'm fine. I hope you are too. And I have the children go around and do that with each other. That's using physical activity, and that's teaching a social skill. So just to get up for a moment and give an example. Thank you for obliging.
Yes, I would like to add something that is so important for us too, is that we create a big project for what? For creating a cultural activities. So Isabella and Ferdinand is through cultural activities. So we try to create, for example, before the pandemic, a real mine. So the kids can enter and can look the esmeraldas. Or we just to create a store, a tienda, so they can be in the real culture, like Disney. I was always dreaming with Disney, and I want to teach like Disney. So we try to incorporating music, art, painting, everything that they can just make, and also making things that is impossible to have in their schools, but we have to create for the language.
And if I can just say a few words too. The number one cause of death for 18 to 45-year-old Americans right now is overdose. It's just incredible. We feel that everyone who works with kids needs to have Narcan on hand. Everybody should have it, period, I think. In California, they actually have a naloxone distribution project, And our organization, because we're a 501c3 nonprofit, we're eligible to apply for and get Narcan for free. So that allows us, with some additional money we pull in, of course, to put these kits together and distribute them at no cost to community members. Well, schools are also eligible to apply for those grants. And so we're working really hard to get Narcan in all the schools, all of the universities. In fact, legislation has been passed recently that requires our colleges to have Narcan on hand and to include overdose rescue training and information about opioids in particular available in the new student orientation. And there's now K through 12 legislation moving through that's going to require that as well. So I just really encourage everyone who works with kids to take the step, learn how to rescue somebody. What are the steps of overdose? Our website, ncapda.org, is a great resource. We actually have a video, you can look a couple minutes, you can learn how to rescue somebody and just really become informed and capable of, helping rescue somebody if you need to. Unfortunately, we all need to be in that place now.
And I just wanted to add to April's story. I know our stories aren't exactly the same, but I really feel like ADHD is overdiagnosed. We're human beings. We're not just brains. We have bodies, and we need to move. We need to move to hold information. Our cells and our entire body holds information. And I have two brothers that were diagnosed with ADHD at a young age, and the solution was medicine. Instead of looking at how they were being taught or how children naturally learn, it was to give them medicine so that they could comply. And as they became teenagers, I'm looking at their life, and as they became teenagers, they didn't know what normal felt like because they were prescribed medication at 7 years old. And so what I saw is that they started to experiment with alcohol and marijuana just to feel normal. And I feel like it started in education when they were diagnosed with ADHD. And I feel like if we have more movement and treat humans like actual human beings with legs and arms and hands and heart and a head, rather than just the head, that we're going to help humanity overall. And so I really applaud you for what you're doing and what all of us are doing. And not one size fits all. Although we are creating a new model in education, it's not for everyone, but it's a solution to many families and an answer to many families.
Well, and I really appreciate that over-medication thing, too. We have so many kids that are stressed out. We see that all the time, right? So stress, especially anxiety, working with these kids as we do, we see that all the time. We have really very open conversations with our teens. And so what do they do to manage their stress? One of the things we do in the classroom, that's actually the interactive thing again, we have them share out. What do you do to manage your stress other than take drugs, right? We want to have them share out their ideas because then other teens can see that there is a solution other than medications. And then what about the student that plays sports? I ask always in the classroom, how many of you play a sport? And 2/3 of the classroom raises their hand. How many of you have been injured playing your sport? And almost everybody raises their hand that raised it in the first place. And so what happens when somebody gets an injury? Often they're prescribed opioids. And I can tell you that that's another thing our parents really need to understand. And teachers and coaches need to be on alert for. If that kid gets injured, watch out for potential downstream impact from opioids that are prescribed too.
Thank you.
So.
Another thing that comes to my mind is we don't need to always program every movement that a child makes. And for example, one of the songs, all the other songs are folk songs but I actually composed a song. One day this little tiny boy came up to me. He said, Miss Jan, you got to teach me how to Dougie. Do you all know do you know what that is? You know what it is, okay. Well, back in those days, teach me how to Dougie was dirty. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just what it was. And we went online and I looked it up, and it was boogie woogie. It was good old-fashioned bump and groove, I mean, it's what. And I said, oh dear, we can't do this. So I sat down with him, and using just a 12-bar blues framework, we came up with a song. And if you all want to stand up, stand up. I wasn't intending to do this, but we've got time, so come on. Let's, you know. There was an old alligator lived right downtown. He had great big eyes and a frumpy frown. Come on. And he turned himself around. He lived, I can't remember the words. He did the alligator boogie with a wide-toothed grin. He said, water and away, I'm too low. Show me how to boogie woogie, show me how to boogie, show me how to boogie woogie, show me how to boogie. You waddle and you gobble and you turn yourself around. You pick up your tail and you whomp it on the ground. You do the alligator boogie with the wide-toothed grin. You slide into the water and away you swim. Woo! That was a gift. That was a gift from a little boy. And it's maybe the most important thing I've ever done in my life because it just came out. So, you know, nobody has to tell you. Boogie by the Boogie Woogie is a song that tells you how to move by the words. So it's pretty interesting historically. My parents used to do that kind of thing. I don't know about, I'm older than everybody here. I know that. No, I'm older than you. I mean, it was traditional to do these kinds of fun things where the music told you what to do. And I think we've lost that in our culture. And I think we need to get back. I've done that song with an 18-month-old baby. He knew how to bump and grab it. You know, he got into it. You do it with 10-year-olds, and they're kind of like, not quite sure how to move that body. You know, training for football doesn't teach you how to move in a fluid, free, healthy way. I think we need to get back to finding that holistic thing for the whole child and build it into our lives. Does anybody have anything else to say? Do you have any questions? Questions? Yes.
I loved what I heard on the panel today from all of you about using music, movement to engage our students in learning. Similarly, as I was listening to you, I was like, oh my gosh, what I do kind of ties into what everybody here is saying. What I do with my students, it's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So as I was listening to you, I was like listening to the art component, and then I heard the farming component, and I was just excited about the approach that all of you are taking in your respective companies to engage your students, because if we don't do something, our students are going to be left behind. I mean, you know, with COVID, there's a huge gap in terms of education. And I see like what you're doing is making such a difference to help students to close that educational gap, and not only close the educational gap, but excel in their own way, in their capacities to recognize their full potential and come forth. So thank you so much for all that you're doing.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
I totally agree with you. I think art is what's missing. Art is beauty. And emotion is energy in motion. And when we pull on the heartstrings through our eye senses or through beauty or through smell, we remember it. When we remember things that have happened in our life, it's because a strong emotion was attached to it. Joy, anger, and so art helps bring in that feeling sense. What are we going to do with this information now? And remembering it. So thank you. I totally agree with the A. It is missing.
You want to close with one more song?
Okay.
Yes. Oh, there's a question. Go ahead, dear.
Well, I just want to, it's not a question, one of the things that I started a school in San Francisco, and it's for more neurodiverse children and kids that just can't sit still, and so I've provided movement desks, and the little things that are not so expensive is just buying pedals for under the desk, and I found that's really helped, along with I have some kids that don't sit. I use a stepper, so they're constantly going there, and a spinner. So each classroom has like 6 different ways that you can actually physically move your body, and that's been really helpful for kids when it comes to less behaviors, as you're saying, and focus. And so I just love the whole body, the mind of like the mind-body connection. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just
Thank
wanna
you
say-
so much.
I think that's a great example. We had a boy in a class that could not sit still, and we just gave him a little cube and where he could click,
Right.
and it was like all of his energy went to his hands, and he was able to focus. And
Right.
another thing we do with like times tables is we engage the whole body. So we'll clap and say 3 is 3 times 3, 6 is 2 times 6, or 2 times 3. And we'll go all the way up to the times tables to 12, and then do the clapping in reverse and the times tables in reverse.
That's awesome.
So, but I love those brain breaks that you mentioned.
Well, actually, their desks that they're sitting at, they have the bike under them at all times.
Oh,
So,
cool.
like, depending on what the child needs, like some kids can't sit, period. I have folks
Right.
that just want to stand the whole time, and then they're moving and giving that proprioceptive input through their legs and through their body. So it's
Great.
been really great to see that, and that I just wanted to say, because that is an option, but it is a little pricey, but you can do things from under the chair, like the pedals and things like that. So,
I'd
thank
love
you.
to talk to you afterwards.
Hello. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm also very inspired by everybody. I congratulate you on actually hearing new just skills, giving skills to the students for life, things that are important, like just, where do you close the water of your home if it's getting, all this water, or just very basic skills. So I think that's very, very important, because education was not like that. I've been in education for over 20 years, and I always saw the lack of common sense, the lack of just simple things that needed to just, why is this like this, or why are they complicating things? And just to listen, this is refreshing. It gives me hope. And we all have a fight, and the fight is obviously a very peaceful fight, but it is a fight because we are against so much, and we have to undo so much. And that's the thing. We all have to work on undoing so we can give the right path. So I just want to congratulate you and keep going,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's stand up again, and let's end with a nice round. It goes Gene Ritchie in the 1960s. I probably am the only one that remembers that too, but what a wondrous thing when the children of the world all dwell together in peace. Sing it with me. What a wondrous thing when the children of the world all dwell together in peace. I hear you. Janis, you take that side, and we'll start, and you follow, okay? We go first, and then you after the first phrase. What